from the 2024 presidential race and what his plans are for the final months of his term. Delta says its backlog of delayed and canceled flights from last week's cyber outage should be over tomorrow. The Senate's given the name of Air Force Lieutenant General Stephen Nordhaus to be the next chief of staff of the National Guard Bureau. If he's confirmed, he joins the Joint Chiefs. This is ABC News. Tennis star Coco Gauff has been named the female flag bearer for the U.S. Olympic team. At Friday's opening ceremony, she'll join LeBron James. Organizers also finalizing plans for future games.
2034 will be a Winter Olympics year, and this morning, Chairman Thomas Bach announced that
the 27th Olympic Winter Games are awarded to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox was there.
Our world needs the Olympic and Paralympic movement now more than ever, and we will make you proud.
Salt Lake was an attractive choice because venues built in that city for the 2002 games are still in use. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
The man accused of attacking author Salman Rushdie is facing new terrorism charges. Hadi Matar is charged with attempting to provide material support to Hezbollah, a militant group based in Lebanon and backed by Iran. I'm Daria Albinger, ABC News.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Grosvenor.
Oh, my goodness there, folks. We weren't expecting that. Looks like Todd McKinley has made it into his destination here, somewhere in the heart of Palestine. I mean, Indiana, I think it is.
Yeah, Indianapolis up here yet again for some more American Legion work over the next weekend. We got a membership workshop. Watching Fox News right now, Trump's speaking, but what time is Biden supposed to be on there? Do we know?
Cowardly Joe will be on at 8 p.m. The plan is we're going to try and stream it. I'm going to feed it through the system. Hopefully that'll keep us from echo. If it doesn't go well, then we'll just drop it there. But the plan is to bring Joe in at 8 o'clock. I don't think he'll speak all that long. He's probably not. I don't think there's enough amphetamines in the District of Columbia tonight to keep him awake that long. No. So we'll do that. Also, for those who are curious, it's a dual broadcast on over the radio. And all three of us will be on my YouTube program where I'll be carrying this live at 8 o'clock. We're going to try it and see if it works. That's the plan anyway. I had to jerry-rig some things with alternate microphones and different browsers. And then just before the next hour, John's got to let Joe Biden come into the conversation, and that'll be my microphone on the other channel. So, all right, so we'll see how it goes. But welcome back to the program, folks. I think it's my lead tonight. I'm not sure, but I already took the lead. So we'll go with that unless somebody wants to jump in and take it from me. Well, welcome back to the program, folks. Common Sense Conservatives every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. This is Colonel Chris Wyatt, retired U.S. Army, sitting in central Pennsylvania. And we've got Todd McKinley, not in East Tennessee tonight, but Tennessee's been making a lot of waves this week with the chairman of the House Defense Department of Homeland Security committee out there in Butler, Pennsylvania, and a bunch of other Tennesseans stepping up for what's right in this country. And then we got John Grosvenor up there in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire. Gents, the country has lost its freaking mind. We have become the United Kingdom, Germany, and France, where foreign scumbags have taken over our country. Today at Union Station, they ripped down the American flag and hoisted up Palestinian flags in this place. That is the definition of an insurrection. Where are the federal law enforcement authorities at this hour, arresting, detaining, and then pressing charges for treason against these people? I ask you, Todd, what are your thoughts?
Yep. I think what they're actually doing is borderline a terroristic act. I truly believe that. You're going to rip down our sovereign flag to hoist a flag of a nation that we may not be directly in war with right now, but we could be very soon. I can tell you that.
Well, regardless of whether it war or not, you don't rip down the American flag and then use the pole to put up a foreign flag. No. That shows fealty, allegiance to a foreign country. Therefore, you have abrogated your rights as an American citizen, and you've committed treason if you're an American citizen.
Unless you're on the left. And then it's just a form of freedom of speech. You're just protesting. It's okay. We'll take a knee for you.
Well, I'll tell you what, some of these people better be real careful because somebody's going to introduce some Smith & Wesson.
Well, I don't know about that now. I'm not over a flag, but maybe
it's more than a flag. No. It's more than a flag.
I get the point about the principle.
No. It's not a principle. They attacked, occupied, destroyed, assaulted law enforcement today. They defaced the Liberty Bell. What the heck is wrong with these people? They scrawled all over the Liberty Bell, painted all over it, defaced the Liberty Bell. These people are sick and twisted anarchists, and they need to be sent to a nice little place. I don't know, not Guantanamo Bay. That's too Gucci. Maybe St. Helena. I don't know where we set Napoleon. But something needs to be done. This country cannot allow itself to go the direction of the United Kingdom where aliens run the country, where English are unsafe in London, unsafe in Leicester, unsafe in Manchester, unsafe in Birmingham. These aren't English cities in the heart of England. These are foreign capitals by foreign nationals. And that's not xenophobia, folks. That's a statement of fact. When India and Pakistan rejoice that Sunni Rishak becomes the prime minister of England saying, aha, we've got it, then there's something wrong with that picture. Either Rishi Sunak is a Brit or he's not a Brit. Anyway.
Right. Absolutely. And of course, I mean, how many millions of people are coming into the country, every year illegally? And at the same time, how many are actually going to be placed on the voter rolls? And they're saying, oh, it's for local elections. And what's going to happen? They're going to vote in federal elections. And then we're going to call foul, and they're going to say, "Oh, here we go! It's 2020 all over again." The right-wing radicals, and of course, we'll have another January 6th type situation, but it'll be more violent if they steal it again.
Well, we've just had a coup attempt.
Sure.
We had a preemptive coup attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Well, there's that, and then
an actual coup in the Democratic Party, a palace coup.
Yeah, well, we knew actually going back to when Joe took office. Whenever we started this show, we said he's not going to finish his term. They're going to push him out to make sure he can't run for re-election. I mean, even if he's allowed to ride out his term, in an infirm bed there in the White House, he's not going to be in charge like he's not been in charge since his entire time thus far. But they figured out a way to push him out of the way. They lied about. I think he didn't have COVID. There's no way he had COVID.
No.
All of a sudden, he recovered that quick, and he's back in D.C. because people were saying that they killed him and he's dead. So he had to make an appearance back in D.C.
Well, here's the thing. I did hear the telephone call into the Harris campaign when it occurred. I believe it was a recording, but it was a recording. If you listen to the words, either somebody was imitating him or he's had a stroke. Yep. Or he was high on something because all of his S's were slurred like Foster Brooks. I mean, every word he said to start with F, he couldn't say words with S. Either he had a stroke and he's got issues. Now, Laura Loomer reported a few weeks ago that on Air Force One, there was a medical incident, and then they dismissed her as a kook and said she's lying. Well, now a bunch of commentators are latching on it and saying, in fact, there must have been a medical incident on Air Force One, which prompted all of this activity over the past week. But at the end of the day, this is what I think happened. Now, this is not conspiracy theory, but just connecting the dots. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. And I'm not claiming I'm right, but think about this. The elites knew that this guy wasn't going to make it to the end. I mean, the tank is not just got a hole in it. It's got 35 holes and all the liquids flowing out rapidly. They saw that. So uncharacteristically, and for no political gain whatsoever, the elites challenged Joe. They said, basically, these are my words, not to, but it's Joe's easy because he's got such an ego and he's such an arrogant ASS, you could push him into something. So they said to Joe, they said, no, you gotta get out there. You gotta fight against Donald Trump. Otherwise, you're going to say you're weak. You look weak, Joe. You look weak. No, I'm not weak. I'm Joe Biden, a lunch pail Joe. And so they goaded him into doing a debate in July. At the beginning, who does a presidential debate in July? Unless it's the previous year and it's primaries. No, this is unprecedented. The debates only come after the nominee. After the nominee is picked, after the conventions in September, that's when we get debates, never before then. So they sent him knowing that he would fail and hoping it would be bad enough that he would drop out of the race. But Joe has an ego the size of the Rio Grande. So he didn't drop out of the race. He knuckled down and said, I'm staying to the end. Yeah. So this upset Wall Street. This upset the elite corporates. This upset Obama, Susan Rice, Jill, all the people like Pelosi who want this guy out, who want to put their next sock puppet in place, Kamala Harris. And so what they did, well, I'm not going to say they did it, but everything has been tried against Donald Trump except killing him. That happened, and it failed after the failed assassination and the inept, opaque response from the Biden regime's Secret Service and the government itself. Well, then it was time for Joe to go because Donald Trump looks like a victim. He looks like a martyr, and he's the best martyr of all. He survived the attempt to murder him. That's the best kind of martyr. So Donald Trump is riding high. Everything's going great. The convention just went well. He survived assassination attempt. The country's rallying around him. Black voters are flocking to him. Hispanic voters already flocked to him. Jews are now flocking Donald Trump. Something's got to be done. It's time for Joe to go. I think the whole debate was put in place to give them a clear mechanism to get rid of him, and it didn't work. And after the assassination attempt, then they're able to get rid of him. And, or he just had a stroke on the plane, like Laura Loomis claiming, and right. He can't function. But if he can't run for president, then he can't serve as president. It's time to invoke the 25th Amendment and let Kamala be number 47 for just 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, right. And I heard that, that there's a lot of animosity between Joe Biden, especially Jill Biden, and the Obamas because of the way they treated him. They're like basically like a stooge when he was vice president. And she didn't like this. She was very protective of him. And basically she stood up to him and said, we're not backing out of this thing. We're not going to drop out. And of course, all the pressure came down on him for finally they said, yeah, I guess he had to go. Did you look at the signature, by the way? It looks no.
It's digital and it doesn't match the signature. I mean, we could go all day with all kinds of conspiracy theories here. It's pretty obvious. I mean, I think a lot of it I said at the time when the letter came out, because I was online working when that letter was released. I'm like, hey, did somebody tell Joe that he's out of the race? Did they wake him up from his nap? Did anybody offer him chocolate chip ice cream and let him know, hey, Joe, you're not in the race anymore? Because I think it's probably a big surprise to him. But here's the thing. The former president of the United States was nearly assassinated on his watch by his inept Secret Service that is incapable of defending the principles. Yep. Where has the president of the United States been? I don't want to hear COVID. When Trump had COVID, he was in a room writing, signing papers. He went on air. He was addressing the nation. Where is Joe Biden at? I don't think he had COVID. This is hiding Biden. Just a standard SOP for a man who cannot walk and chew gum. Literally can't walk and chew gum at the same time. John, I mean, seriously, the guy cannot walk and chew gum.
Try to get him to walk up a flight of stairs and see what happens.
Well, don't try to get him walk up a flight of stairs and chew gum. My goodness. Game over, dude. Game over. It's ridiculous. No, this is unbelievable. And now we've got the Democrats who have been telling everybody that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. He's a fascist totalitarian. He'll overrule the Constitution. Never mind the fact he has a track record as president for 4 years. He didn't do any of that. Every time that they made fraudulent lawsuits against his administration, they ceased to desist until the court decided in their favor, and then they picked up the action again. Whereas Obama and Biden, when the court cases go, they continue to defy the courts, even after they lose to the court. I mean, look at the student loan nonsense. I mean, he was told he couldn't do it, and he keeps trying to find new mechanisms to bury us in debt so that people get free rides. Freeloaders get free rides, and they want empathy. You don't have my empathy. I paid my student loan back. I earned my way. You need to earn your way. It's not my job to pay for you so you can be a lawyer, so you can be a doctor, so you can get a philosophy degree and then flip burgers at the Waffle House. That is not my responsibility. That's your responsibility. But I mean, this is Todd, this is This is insanity on the highest order. They have defrauded 14.5 million voters in Democratic primaries in the 50 states and 8 territories and the district. They have defrauded 15. And they're saying that Trump is a threat to democracy. I don't know. It seems to me like the elites in the Democratic Party have decided that Joe's got to go, and we're going to tell you who your nominee is going to be. It's going to be Kamala, whether you like it or not. Did I miss a beat there, Todd? Tell me what I missed.
No, I think you were spot on. And you think about this, all the elites talking about, they covered for Biden from the time he announced he was running for president up until recently. And then all of a sudden they're saying, oh, well, after the debate performance, we just didn't know the few handlers that are around him are the ones that hid it from us. Not true. They knew about it. Once it was out there on clear display for 2 hours in front of the American people, they couldn't hide it anymore. And then all of a sudden they had this flip on Joe. And now all of a sudden Kamala, a person they couldn't stand, never wanted her to be the nominee. All of a sudden, she's the greatest thing ever. You go, girl. I'm with her. All this BS. It's nonsense.
Well, not just that, Todd, but oh my goodness, if you dare challenge the fact that she destroyed Catholic charities that were over 400 years old with her malicious lawsuits to enrich her friends at the expense of a non-governmental organization that had been helping the poor for over 4 centuries in California. When you talk about the fact that her path to where she's at was on her back or on her knees, when you say that, oh, you're a racist or you misogynist. What does that got to do with race? Misogynist? Okay, you could say that about the last part, but that's not true either. Those are statements of fact. This is Willie Brown's main squeeze when he was still married. She got appointed to 2 boards of directors in the California Pension or Unemployment Commission, paying her over $400,000 as a board member. Yeah. Why is the state paying people $400,000 to be a member of 2 boards? There should be a $5,000, courtesy payment at max. This is patronage.
So it's so corrupt. The whole state is corrupt, but there's millions of people there that continue to vote for these people, and I don't understand it. They vote to basically have overlords, if you will. They vote to basically have very little money in their own pocket. They vote to have very few freedoms and liberties that we enjoy in most other states around the country.
People don't know what they're voting for anymore. That's the issue. They're listening to the partisanship agenda, and they're listening to what they're saying, and they're lying to them all the time. They're always talking about freedoms of this and freedoms of that when they're stripping them away. You got to watch people's actions. You can't just take their word for it because liars lie.
But it's not just that. The cognitive dissonance is off the chart. I mean, first off, anyone who says that anything happened in 2020 is a denier, is a fraud. There's no such thing as widespread fraud. We've seen it proven time and again that there was fraud all over the country. There's always fraud in elections. As a judge of elections, I can tell you that in elections there is fraud. So this is nonsense. And Trump lost every lawsuit. That's not true. That's not true. Most of the lawsuits weren't even filed by Trump, but they lie about everything. But now they're running around claiming that Trump wasn't even shot. He staged the whole thing. Can you believe this? 33% of registered Democrats polled in this country think that this is all fake. It never happened.
What's funny is
they're aliens at Roswell. What kind of people are these?
They keep trying to put us down because we say J6 was set up. And, they're just right-wing terrorists. They're nut jobs. They don't know what they're talking about. A bunch of flakes over there on the right. But as soon as somebody shoots Trump in the air, all of a sudden, oh, my God, he staged that. I mean, come on,
exactly.
Man. Again, cognitive dissonance, right?
Talk about your tinfoil hats. There's your tinfoil hat. I mean, my goodness. It's for the whole world to see. We saw it. We watched it happen. I mean, honestly, it's just insane. Todd, if you got company in the room there, you keep getting distracted.
I'm watching Trump and watching how strong he is. And you're going to sit there and hear about, little less than an hour.
Oh, he's suddenly the oldest man in the race.
Oh, he's going to be he's going to sit down at the Resolute desk. He's going to read something prepared. He's going to screw it up. It's going to be 5, 6, maybe 10 minutes max. And he's going to be shuffled out of there. He's going to be looking to the left, looking to the right, not knowing which way to leave the room.
Are they going to hand the microphone off to Kamala after he's finished? Or
I hope so. Because I hope so. I want to be unburdened what was.
And what could be.
What could be. Yeah, what is, what was, what will be.
Tomorrow's tomorrow, but today could be tomorrow's tomorrow.
Tomorrow's today is yesterday's tomorrow. Unless you're in a parallel universe, then it's yesterday's tomorrow today.
They're trying to say this is a false claim, but we've all heard that in the past too.
No, but Russia is a country and Ukraine is a country, and Russia attacked this other country, and that's not right.
They've got articles from years ago about this woman's word salads.
Oh my gosh, this is about the dumbest person to ever occupy 30 seconds in the Oval Office. Now there's potential she could occupy 4 years in there. This is a frightening prospect. By the way, no one's talking about her husband. I mean, here's the thing. The New York Times and the New York Slimes and Washington Compost are already writing stories about how black voters are flocking to Kamala. They're not sure about her, but hey, she's not Trump, so they're going to give her a chance because. And the one guy they talked to, well, I'm very concerned. Not about her ability to debate with Trump. I think you're delusional. Not about her viability as a candidate. Not about their issues. I mean, she wants to murder babies. She wants to free felons who've committed treason against the country. She wants to let the country be invaded by millions of people. And wants to. This is all things she's done. So he's not worried about the policy. He's not worried about her ability to debate Trump. But he is worried about white people because there's just enough of them that are racist they won't vote for. Hello, I'm sorry. Didn't 68 million of us vote for Barack Hussein Obama in 2008? And a lot of people woke up and realized he was a communist who hated America and a racist. So 5 million people didn't vote for him the second time. Guess what they were? They were racist because they didn't vote for him. No, she's not even black. She's just got a good tan, man. She's not African American. There's no African American in her. No. She is an Indian and Bahamian whose ancestors are the largest single slave owners in Bahamas. Yeah, now put that in your pipe and smoke it. Oh, by the way, she didn't grow up in this country. She grew up in Canada like Ted Cruz.
Married to a white guy, too, by the way.
A Jewish white guy. Wait till the Palestinians in Michigan find that out. She won't get any votes from the Arabs. Marrying a Jew? What's wrong with you? That's what they'll say. There's the phrase. Yeah, Kamala, we're for you. Married a Jew. What's with you? Well, we can't vote for you. We're Palestinian.
Yeah. I mean, Trump is going strong. I mean, and here Joe's going to. I don't think Joe's going to resign, but I wouldn't put it past if he doesn't announce maybe he's going to resign in the near future, maybe after a Democrat convention, perhaps. I don't know.
What if he did resign? Does that screw up Kamala Harris for? I mean, she
gets sworn in as the 47th president. She gets actual time in office, and that doesn't count against her because she didn't get elected. So she could go for 8 years after that if we're dumb enough to vote for her. So it does, but it actually gives her gravitas. It also puts her in the hopper for any screw ups between now and November. She can't blame anybody else. Although she'll probably blame on George Bush. I mean, that's Obama's playbook. So that's the first thing. But guess who becomes the vice president there, John?
Johnson.
Mike Johnson, that's correct.
well, actually, she appoints somebody, and they have to be confirmed. So he doesn't actually become automatically the vice president.
Did they change secession? Because I thought secession was Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House.
No. If there's a sitting president, the Speaker of the House doesn't move up.
Oh.
But in our country, there's been about 30 some odd years or 20 some odd years that we've not had a vice president, by the way.
We didn't even notice.
It would be if the president dropped out, then the vice president moved up the position. They dropped out, then Johnson would be.
Think about when Nixon resigned, Ford became the president, and it took a while before Nelson Rockefeller was confirmed.
Yeah, but Ford was the Speaker of the House, was he not? That's how he became vice president.
No. He was the party leader. He was never speaker. He wanted to be. Yeah, but he was the majority and minority leader back and forth for years. But then he became.
Do you guys feel at all bad about the fact that they had all these pre-printed ballots with all these illegal aliens now for Biden, and now they got to change them all?
I don't feel
bad
at all.
Ballot dumping here.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. We're in a warehouse. There's a bunch of illegal aliens.
Wouldn't it be great if the ballots were all screwed up in half the states? They had Biden on it. I have to say they had Harris, and she only gets a quarter of the votes.
Well, would that really count that way? Or would they just attribute Biden votes to her?
Of course it would. I've run for office, and if when someone spelled my name in a write-in wrong, I didn't get the vote.
Right?
You make the wrong choice. You make the wrong choice. That's how it goes. That's how that cookie crumbles, man. That's how it crumbles.
Oh, come on! I mean, look, make new state laws in the process. Overnight laws while everybody's sleeping.
All right, so let's turn our attention to Butler, guys, for a few minutes. Have you seen the latest coming out on this now between Josh Hawley and then Chuck Grassley from Iowa, and then of course your gentleman there from Tennessee, Mark Green. Yeah, all three of them coming out with earth-shattering things this week. The first was the FOIA request or the office request that went in by Chuck Grassley. He released a 3-minute video of an agent plus the snipers and law enforcement on the roof 1 hour after the attempted assassination. It says 7:10 on his body cam. And of course, Cheadle said there was no body cam. We have no camera. We have nothing. She lied. She needs to be prosecuted. That wasn't a mistake. That was a lie. That was a cover-up. She needs to be prosecuted.
Yep.
That needs to start. There's no question about that, because it's not just dereliction of duty. Now it's perjury in front of Congress.
Wait a minute. What do you mean they were on the roof an hour later? I mean, there was a cleanup and stuff, an investigation going on, right? But what do you mean?
An hour after the shooting, there was a Secret Service agent with his cell phone in his typical standard blue blazer, black blazer, Secret Service uniform, essentially, on the roof with guys in battle dress, combat fatigues, and Kevlar helmets, body cams, and they're up there. The assailant was lying dead on the roof with the blood streak down behind him, running down the slope because it's so high a slope. And then his rifle was sitting to the side. That video was released by Senator Chuck Grassley after Cheadle said there was no footage, there was no camera, we had nothing of any of the events. She lied. She committed perjury. And this is not a simple mistake. This is a clear lie. It was a cover-up. So that thing in the course of it. Now, first off, in that video, I give credit to the agents and whoever the others, whether they're snipers, whatever their role is, and the law enforcement. Those people within 1 hour of the former president being shot were calm. They were rational. They weren't speculating. The agent asked you, "Did you see this again?" And the guy's like, "We didn't see that. We weren't on the roof. We were on the other. We shot. We came over here. We didn't see that. So we can't attest to that." Very professional. Very well. Everyone on the roof was professional. You know, what's this? Okay, that's the assailant's weapon. It's over there. We've moved it over there. Here's his body. And this is what happened. And so they ran through it. And then there was a discussion about the people who are being detained. And the agent said, detain them because they're the ones who were informing the police, and they didn't know if they were involved. They had to sort it out. Again, correct actions. You have to assess what's going on. So you detain everybody near the scene. But it's unbelievable what's been disclosed here in that video. It's a 3-minute video. And then you've got, of course, Green says they're talking to local law enforcement, Pennsylvania State Police and Butler, that they were denied entry into the Secret Service Command Center, into their TOC. I mean, how can you coordinate when you don't have a look, Todd? You know this. Everywhere we go, in the same military, we send a liaison officer to the brigade next to us. We send a liaison officer up the division. We send a liaison officer back to the rear trains. We send a liaison officer to the Polish brigade, to the Russian brigade. In Bosnia, we had an officer who was living with the Russians because they were in our division, and every day was giving them information and coming back to us. This is unbelievable. How do you have an operation like this without a liaison officer?
Right. Exactly.
So let me run this by you. Just play devil's advocate for a second. She wasn't in the field when all this happened. She was more likely in DC. Is it possible somebody underneath her was not submitting evidence or submitting things up to her? I mean, who's controlling this investigation?
Okay. First off, there's so many investigations. It's making her head spin. Homeland Security's got investigation. The Inspector General's got investigation. Secret Service has investigation. The Federal Bureau of Incompetence has investigation. I think everybody except Todd and I will probably start our own investigation. Get to the bottom line of it. Okay, so first off, is it possible she had bad information? Sure. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. But here's the problem with all that. She went on ABC News rather than informing Congress or informing the president or informing the public and told us what was what 2 days after the events. And then she went on TV the next day and doubled down and said more stuff. And then her bogus testimony yesterday, she refused to confirm what she told the public on television. So no, it's not a mistake. She wasn't getting bad information. She's a liar. Pinocchio's pants are on fire. She needs to be charged criminally for her negligence, her dereliction of duty, and her perjury before Congress. Here's what she could have said. She could have said, I don't have the correct information yet. We've got information from one source is telling this, another one, we're still investigating it. I apologize. It's the best I can do right now. Or if she didn't want to do that, she says, I would like to invoke my Fifth Amendment right. And that's the end. That's what she had to do. But she didn't do that. She stonewalled, she lied, she misled, she misrepresented because she's an evil, nasty troll, incompetent diversity hire like most of them in the White House, most of them in the administration, and even in our leadership in the military. Did you see what they did over the guy who was reservist last year who shot all those people up there in Maine? He was at West Point, and the military are the only people who took appropriate action. And guess who the only people being held accountable are? His chain of command. The officers over him are the ones taking the fall for his shooting 18 people in Maine. How did that happen? Well, because the Army is the only organization that has done a thorough investigation. They did 3,300 pages of documents for the Article 15 investigation. Article 15. What's the investigation? Anyway.
90 something. I can't
think of it. But anyway,
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while too. But they do an investigation, and so they had a senior intelligence officer, they had a physician, they had all these people involved in this. Judge advocate, they all did this thing. They interviewed everybody possible, but of course, the civilian hospital, the civilian police, the civilian authorities refuse to give any testimony, and the military can't compel them because they have no jurisdiction over them. But the people that had jurisdiction over it, they did hundreds of interviews. And here's what happened: he showed up in June. He didn't have any problems. He had previously been reported by civilian authorities in December of the previous year and January as saying he had problems. His family called up and told law enforcement, this guy's got a problem. He's wackadoodle. We're worried about him. He's got guns. Nothing was done. The military wasn't informed. So he goes to drill in June. He's got drill every month, but he goes to drill in June, nothing there. In July, he shows up. He's acting like a wackadoodle. So his NCOs, he's a senior NCO, his officers grab him and go, no. Go into the dispensary. You're going to see a shrink. They sent him for care. They sectioned him. They sent him to civilian hospital. They're the only ones who took action. Then he was released from civilian hospital after it was told he's supposed to be on lockdown. They didn't go get his guns. And the only people being held responsible are the leaders in his chain of command, because some lieutenant general in the Army Reserve said, well, our job doesn't just end when they go home. We're reservists. We have no authority over these people, but it's up to commanders to call people and say, how you doing? Hey, Todd, can you imagine this? You're in the Tennessee National Guard. It's Wednesday. Who's this? Oh, it's Captain White. He's called me up to see how I'm doing. I'll bet he's called the other 700 people in his battalion tonight too. What the heck is this nonsense? They're the only ones being held accountable, and they're the only ones who are responsible. I'm sick of the military being held accountable when no one else is held accountable.
Yeah, I'm watching right now where they tore the flag down and started tearing it
at Union Station, and they burned it, and then they put up a Palestinian flag. That's insurrection.
Yeah, and this guy's clearly, it's clearly this kid right here is on there, plain as day.
Well, there'll be no prosecution.
Somebody should dox this kid,
No, there'll be no prosecution from the Department of Justice. But I'll tell you what, did you see where
the enemy is within our gates without a doubt, more than they've ever been in our nation's history?
We were warned about this. We were warned about this
yeah.
by a CNN reporter in the 1990s who went to Oklahoma City and saw the jihadist videos being sold to young Americans, indoctrinating them in hatred of America. And he exposed it, and he was destroyed by CNN because he did that.
Yep.
Who was it warned us way back in the day? The Russians said, we'll just destroy you from within.
Yep.
Infiltrate. And that's what basically was happening. It's just not the Russians this time.
Yep.
Well, part of the problem here is that in the 1980s, we allowed all these Palestinians come in this country, many of whom are decent people. Many, probably the vast majority of these people. And I know many of them because I went to university with them in the early 1980s and again, late 1980s. But they were allowed to sit here and sponge off our society. They went to school on the 6-year plan for undergraduate, got to stay here. Student visas extended when they didn't graduate, and then they got to go to grad school. Then they got to stay here. Why? Why do you get to stay here? You're supposed to get the degree to go back to Palestine and help people there, or go back to Kuwait, or go back to Israel, wherever you live, not here. And they all got to stay. And their evil spawn, like Rashida Tlaib, that is the consequence of these people being here. These evil, America-hating, treasonous people like Rashida Tlaib are in our country and in our midst now, and people are stupid enough to vote for people like that. Our vote means nothing. It means nothing. The elites have shown that. The Democrats, Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Really? So he never swiped out 14.5 million votes.
No.
Unlike Kamala Harris, Donald Trump was selected by Republican voters overwhelmingly across the country. Kamala Harris couldn't get 2% of the Democratic primary voters in 2020. She left after calling the sitting president now a racist in a debate. She called him a racist and got away with it.
Racist, a rapist, and then alluded to him being a child molester too.
All those things might be true. We don't know.
They were claims.
Could be, yeah. But she alluded to his daughter's diary. Basically about him, whatever.
No, that's not true. I mean, I know that was all made up by Republicans. They did, right?
well, apparently it was used to quite regularly and to some, to some effect. I guess she got a couple points in on him.
Well, it's funny how we were told by the media, by the Bidens, that diary was fake. It didn't exist. But the person who acquired the diary legally was charged with a federal crime.
Right.
And charged with theft and possession of stolen property. How can that be the case when it's not real? It's all made up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's no speed limit on this road. Oh, you went 60 and it's a 55. You just said it's the Autobahn, no speed limit. Come on, man.
Sounds like Montana back in the late 90s.
Back in the day.
90s, yeah. But late 1990s, this was not Montana bond. What's the speed limit? I think it goes fast as you want, but it's not the Montana bond. Well, when dusk hits, you have to slow down. It's to 70 or something like that. Yeah, I got pulled over for I was driving at daylight. I got pulled over. Cop almost ran me off the road. He was going so fast, went by because I was coming up on Billings, and I was over 100 miles an hour. I'll admit it. There was no speed limit. But I was driving my Volvo. I'm used to driving 130 miles an hour. There was no traffic. But then they started having on-ramps, because getting closer to built-up area. And you go past people 130 miles an hour, and then accustomed to somebody going that fast, that you startle them. So I eased up. I slowed down. I was going like 70, I think it was. I think speed limit 75 or it's 80 after dusk. And I was going like 70. And the cop almost wrecked the car. He drove alongside me, like, hit the brakes, got him behind me, pulls me over. And he comes up and I license. I had a speed detector up there. I took it down, so I was with
radar detector.
Yeah, radar detector, so I wouldn't be embarrassed that I had it. I got pulled over, and so I put it in the glove box. But he comes up, license and insurance. He goes, "Listen, there's no speed limit, but I think 100 and 130 is a bit excessive." I said, not to me. Not to me. I control my vehicle. In fact, you almost wrecked your car going by me.
No. So when you entered Montana, they didn't have a speed limit. You entered up Montana. There's a big sign up there that says speed limit, safe and prudent. Trucks,
yes.
65 miles an hour. So here I am cruising along. 65 means 70. So here I am throttled down at about 70 miles an hour. And I'm just riding along, checking that left West Coast mirror, right? Because I'm thinking somebody in a crotch rock and a Porsche, something's just going to go blow my doors off, sucking the paint off the side of my truck. And next thing I know, I'm sitting there crawling up on somebody. I'm like, why am I passing somebody? And they're just creeping along, like 60 miles an hour out there in the middle of an interstate. Nobody else out there. I'm like, dude, you have full reign. You can do anything you want. And you're doing 60 miles an hour on a 4-lane interstate.
Well, I didn't know you're going to tell us about your experience driving behind Joe Biden tonight. That's interesting.
Right. No, that's just how it is. You get out there. It's funny, man. The psychology I see behind this is when you give responsibility to people, they take responsibility for their actions. But when you tell them what they can and cannot do and what they can and cannot have, suddenly they're out there just blasting people's doors off.
Well, as I said, there was no one on the highway. It's wide open. And as I approached a populated area, there are more on-ramps. And so I slowed down. I was going slower. I was going fast, but slower than all the traffic out there. But I wasn't startling anybody. Right. So, I was being a very responsible driver, and I got a ticket. Not for speeding, but failure to obey posted signage. That's what it was for. Back in the day, because Montana thumbed their finger at the federal government when it came with the double nickel federal speed limit back in the 70s, right. And they would give you like a $5 ticket. Well, that was $75.
Yep. Yeah,
and I had to pay on the spot. I couldn't pay it with a check or a credit card. Fortunately, I had the cash. I don't usually carry cash.
Right. Yeah, I've had guys in my unit back in Germany got tickets because they were making excessive lane changes and stuff like that. Not because they were going 130 miles an hour. They were left, right.
Yeah, well, that's because they were probably driving a little recklessly too, cutting in between cars. Yeah. When you're going that speed, that's like they think they're on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So we've all been in that situation with people like that. So. But no, in Germany, it's not any fun anymore. You really can't drive that speed most places. Right. Baden-Württemberg has all these 130 zones, and they have cameras everywhere, so you don't dare chance it. And then same thing in Rheinland-Pfalz. Bavaria still has open. But the thing with Bavaria is the truck drivers, sorry, John, they just pull out in front of you going 80 kilometers an hour when you're going 240.
Yeah,
and
I can't help it. Them European truck drivers don't know what they're doing, and they don't know what big motor is. I don't know.
No, they really don't. They don't care. I remember I was going 240 kilometers per hour on the A3 coming back from Nuremberg in a wide open stretch, going up a hill, and a semi pulled out in front of me. Yeah. Right in front of me, not like a half mile, a kilometer ahead, right in front of me. And he didn't signal. I'm like, seriously? Fortunately, I had good brakes,
I just show this American,
So we are talking about 100
indicator on in the lane like you're supposed to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We are talking about 130 miles an hour, not 130 kilometers.
240 kilometers per hour, which is over 130 miles an hour.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. But so that's not fast, man. I remember I was driving 180 kilometers, right? Which is over 100 miles an hour, going to Munich. And I think this is 84, maybe it was. And on the way to Munich, after you get past Baden-Württemberg, it starts to open up. It's flatter on the way to Munich. Before you get to Ulm, you just straight stretches. And I'm going on the highway, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? These Frenchmen on motorcycles went by, and I lost sight of it in seconds. They're going like 280 kilometers an hour or something like that. So I get down the road, and I got to stop, and go to the restroom, and I find a park plots there, and I pull off, and they're all there. And I walked over, and I said, any of you get decapitated by mosquitoes?
Nice.
That's crazy. There's no way I'm driving that fast.
But it's funny all the Joes that would bring over, these American sports cars thinking, oh, I got it. And they would just be like, get left behind. It's like, guy, this isn't built to run on the Autobahn. Sorry.
No, but the good thing about the Autobahn, at least tell people this who don't know. I mean, maybe some of our audience are military, lived in Germany, or people travel there. The thing about the Autobahn is it's designed correctly.
Yes.
Almost every turn is banked as if you're on a racetrack. Every hill is done so you have the best visibility. It isn't always possible, but they do the best job. Now, you do have problems with fog in Germany, but that's unavoidable. So you just have to be aware of that concept. Right. But that's usually an early morning thing or when the weather changes. So you're cognizant. But the roads are designed well and they're maintained. There's no potholes. I've never gone through a pothole in Germany anywhere. Not a single one.
Not at all. And the trees that are there are set back so that you still feel like, you can see down there for many miles straight ahead.
Right.
So
it's designed properly.
We got our interstate highway system. The whole concept behind that was from Eisenhower because of World War II. When Germans built the Autobahn and stuff, what was it? They went 18 inches into the ground with concrete. Yeah. So the roads were meant to last. All they had to do was resurface the top with blacktop. Over here, we go maybe, if we're lucky, 6 inches. In some places, like in Pennsylvania, I see them tear up the blacktop and it's nothing but rock underneath.
Yeah,
but the ground is hard. In all fairness, ground is hard in Pennsylvania. It's not like it's in Florida with sugar sand or something.
Oh, the ground is hard here, and so is the head of a lot of voters that vote Democrat in this state. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
You guys are in so much trouble with
your
that.
Current governor, who's been tossed around as maybe being a Kamala vice president, it's like, here's a guy who helped steal the election. Let's be clear. 2020, now all of a sudden he failed upwards, just like Joe Biden, just like Kamala, right?
Well, let me put this to you. I don't have a problem with Josh Shapiro because of his faith. I have a problem with him because he's a weasel. And he, as the attorney general, he failed to uphold the rule of law. Yeah. But how well you think that's going to go over in Michigan and around the country? There's 2 million Muslim voters when he's a Jew. You think that's going to go over well? I don't have a problem with that. I mean,
no, I don't either. I mean, but you got to think about
in the Democratic Party, ain't going to float, man.
Yeah, Kamala, basically snubbed, Prime Minister Netanyahu today. She snubbed him. Let's be very clear. She said, "To heck with him." And meanwhile, like you said, she is married to a white Jewish guy.
Yep.
Come on, you can't make it up.
No, look, I mean, the Catholics already come out. They're upset with her because of what she did to that Catholic charity in California and her anti-life position, her funding, all kinds of funding felons to get them out of jail, the insurrectionists in the summer of 2020. Yeah. Look, I mean, she's a terrible candidate, and the media can run around and pimp her up all they want. All the fake polls they want can come out. I mean, I saw a poll come out and said, she's ahead of him now. And it's before she was even nominated. She's like, as a consequence of her succeeding Biden, there's a lot of buzz. Well, there may be a lot of buzz. I saw a rally for her. 3,000 people showed up. And this was after the New York Times, Washington Post. They said the article, white voters are just too racist to vote for her. But almost 99.9% of the people in the crowd were white people who were there going, lock him up. Lock him up, about Donald Trump. Lock him up.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This prosecutor and felon thing. Yeah, that's going to go real well with black men who are illegitimately prosecuted in prison for marijuana possession in California.
And she laughed about
it. That's right.
She laughed about it. Yeah. The people think we have no memory. We know who she is.
Oh no, it's coming now.
They got the video now. The guy, the guy in the suit you're talking about
on the roof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm watching it right now.
Yeah. No, it's shocking.
They got a Chicago officer came out about her because still on her Facebook page is there her cries about Smollett almost getting lynched and what a victim he is. It's still on her Facebook. She never reneged on. She
called it a modern day lynching, and it was the hoax. She's so stupid. She fell for that hoax. Did we fall for it? No. I mean, let me roll back the clock, folks. Here we're going to do a little reenactment of me on YouTube a couple years ago. Did y'all see this? Juicy Smollett in Chicago. Some actor none of us ever heard of. Apparently he's gay. I didn't even know he was black or he even existed. But apparently these good old boys came up from Alabama. They came up from Alabama. They went up. They said, "Hey, let's go to Chicago. We go to Chicago. We go get us one of them fellas, them funny fellas who got light in the foot. We gonna find one. Hey, boy, come over here. Are you light the slippers? Come here. Put your head in this noose. Are you serious?" A couple guys with a southern accent, white racist, went to Chicago when it was minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit in the dead of winter and went to an upscale neighborhood where this unknown actor, who's unknown that he's an actor, unknown that he's black, unknown that he's gay. The only people know about it are woke people who watch that stupid show. It's probably on Disney for all I know. Unbelievable. I mean, you couldn't believe it on the face of it. She cost the Chicago Police Department hundreds of thousands of dollars supporting this clown. She's a sucker. She's a fool. She's an empty vessel. She's a sock puppet. She's a sock puppet. They should put her on stage with that guy who does the dummies.
So now, if you can imagine, Black Lives Matter is up in arms against her now
Yeah,
because they didn't get a chance. They're like, wait a minute, this isn't somebody we voted for. This is somebody the Democrat Party selected for us.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's like I said, selected, not elected. Joe Biden had 14.5 million votes, not Kamala Harris. Remember, this genius couldn't get 2% of the popular vote. Look, I did better than my vote. I got more than 2%. I got more than 2% of people in my district. I appealed to more than 2% in just 6 weeks. Yeah. And in an entire lifetime in politics, she couldn't get 2% of the Democrats vote for it. And remember when that happened, because this is what they said. Joyless Reed and all the little scumbags like Van Jones and all them like, oh, that's, she couldn't get votes because Republicans are racist. Excuse me, Todd, you remember this? Republicans are racist. What do Republicans have to do with the Democratic primary? It's not open. We have nothing to do with the Iowa caucus. She dropped out because Iowans wouldn't vote for her because she's repulsive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
has nothing to do with me as a Republican at all.
So in 2016, the DNC once did it again, right? They installed Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, who had the popular vote. And when the voters sued on behalf of Bernie Sanders, and actually they wanted their money back for all the money they donated, but they sued in regard to this. And the judge had ruled that that the DNC has a right to select their nomination as delegates. Therefore, your vote didn't count anyway.
It's in their bylaws. Plus, they have the super delegates that can override millions of people.
Well, that's exactly what they did with the superdelegates, overrode Bernie's lead. Look, I mean, what's the point of having these things? Just go back to 1968 when the convention decides. Just take the vote out of our hands. Don't give the veneer of a democratic selection process when you're going to steal it from us.
Exactly. It's nothing more than a survey. Basically, if they put a sheet of paper out there and everybody filled out and said, who would you like that seat installed? Then they'd have a survey, right? It's about the same thing. They can figure out where the people stand, but they make their own choices anyway.
It's unbelievable. But I will tell you this. It looks like Joe's going to show up because the live feed from the White House just started. It's a blank screen right now, but it just started 1 minute ago. So it looks like we'll probably be ready to go top of the hour. Are you able to preclude the news? You want to? You won't be any sound on it right now.
Oh, so. if it start, let me know if it's going to start right at 8 o'clock. We'll just.
It's going to start right at 8 o'clock. Yeah, right. And if it doesn't, we'll just miss the news. It's not.
That's all it is. So do you see, Chris? Do you see a wheelchair ramp anywhere located in the state?
No. It's just a blue screen right now, but it went live. It was not set. So the stream is. They've turned it on so that when Joe shows up, they sit him down and finish the injection there with the amphetamines. Yep. We'll just I'll just give you a heads up as we get closer and I'll get set up, but get ready. In fact, let me go ahead and try to see while we're doing this, folks, we're doing some admin stuff here real quick, but I need to do this for, where the heck did it go? There's my browser. Okay. John. Yeah, Joe Biden. Hey, I'm going to try to enter the room now. I'm going to try to enter the room now as Joe Biden. So look if you find me backstage. Okay. And see if that works. Okay.
Don't get lost, Joe. Go to the light, Joe.
Let's see. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Well, you want me to bring it in?
Yeah, but we got an echo. Hang on.
Oh. Yeah, we will sit here in silence while Chris Wyatt is attempting to. Well, do that like the golf.
Are you guys getting the echo? I am.
No. I am not. No.
No echo here.
So it's all on your end. I got it hooked up, plugged in. I can play from this end, but you said that would create an echo on your end. So.
Yeah, it's not going to work so well. So the problem with this is there's always a slight delay. So everything I'm saying, I hear in my ear about a half a second after I say it. A little distracting.
So even when it's playing, it's going to echo. It's not.
Well,
did you try it out on with a different
it'll
song?
Just hang on. Let me turn the other microphone on. Now the other microphone's on, but you don't even notice. Yep. Anyway. All right. Well, we'll just have to go with it. So what I'm going to do is mute the microphone. Okay. Now I've ended it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Absolutely.
No problem.
Okay. So I've muted. It's fine. I've muted the other microphone. So I should be okay. It's a little awkward here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You just need to speak. You need to play and pick up on your microphone, right?
Correct.
Oh God, yeah. You could have just used a cell phone or something. Probably held it up to your microphone. I don't know.
That would get very tiring and not particularly effective.
Well, come on, it's 5 minutes. I sat there for an hour and 45 minutes recording Donald Trump while he gave his first speech in Derry, New Hampshire.
work, but remember, we're trying to simulcast where I send it over YouTube, and my folks aren't going to see that on the screen if it's on my mobile phone.
Right.
I see.
I don't know if it's going to work because I'm still getting the echo.
Well, is it going to play an echo on your YouTube?
No, it shouldn't. It's just in my ear. But hang on, if I take that out.
We're just going to listen to it, right? And then you just,
Are you getting it now?
Okay.
Oh, now there's an echo.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the problem. So it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Well, do you want to play it on this end? And
you could try to play it on that
YouTube, but we can play it on this end. I can bring the audio in if you want.
Yeah, try that, and we'll see if we can get that to work. All right, folks, we're trying to bring you.
As he goes live.
Let me just I got to get out of here.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the police response there at Union Station, which for people who don't know, it's basically on the Senate side of the Capitol, probably, just a couple hundred yards from where January 6th, the main part of January 6th was actually taking place. And then the police response is overwhelming. But on January 6th, I guess they couldn't muster even a fraction of that. I mean, come on. Park Police, Capitol Hill Police, DC Metro's there, and probably Amtrak Police and several other agencies probably responding.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I saw Park Police out there trying to defend themselves while these slugs are attacking people. It was pathetic.
Yeah,
it was really.
They needed to start shooting them and be done with this.
All right, be careful. I've just gone live on YouTube. Be careful what you say.
You can't unalive them or use the pew-pews. You gotta say things.
I didn't say kill them.
Easy. We're on live now on YouTube. Okay, folks. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you listening on YouTube, this is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. We're doing something unusual tonight. We're going to try to feed this Joe Biden presentation over WSMN, over Common Sense Conservatives. So I'm in my YouTube studio and in the radio studio with my co-host Todd in Indianapolis tonight, and of course John up in the studio. So anyway, thanks for bearing with us, folks. Hang in there, and we'll see what happens here. All right, so I've got it up on my screen. Let me get back to, but my camera can't come on because I'm using it for this broadcast. So I've got multiple cameras. I should have just set that up. Anyway. All right, folks, we're about 8 minutes away from Joe Biden supposed to announce the stream has started by the White House. Excuse me. That's the feed I'm using from the White House, since that's public access. Right. And we'll wait and see if he comes up. But it's just crazy what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, so as I was saying earlier, we started talking about the situation in Butler. Josh Hawley said that, let's see what he said in the letter. He said that one of the whistleblowers that's come to his attention, he sent this letter to Alejandro Mayorkas 2 days ago. He said the whistleblower said that alleges that there was supposed to be a law enforcement presence on that roof. Right. In fact, the whistleblower alleges at least one individual was specifically assigned to the roof for the duration of the rally, but that person abandoned his or her post due to hot weather. Seriously? I don't recall ever abandoning my guard post or my foxhole or my armored vehicle or my track in the midst of combat because, it was hot and the bullets were dangerous.
Never.
Seriously, what kind of people work for the Secret Service or law enforcement?
Whenever they have stuff like this, all you have to do is call that security room and say, "Hey, I need a push at my location." Somebody will come and replace you there while you go get cool off, drink some water, towel off, whatever you got to do for 5, 10 minutes. You come back, replace that guy. He goes back doing whatever he's doing, giving people a break every so often. And that's what he does. He rotates around the venue.
Yeah, look, I mean, how can the personal comfort of a Secret Service agent or a local law enforcement official be more important than the life of the president and the crowd?
Right.
I mean, that's unacceptable. What is this? Look, you're not a barista. You're guarding the principal. Yeah. Your responsibility is their safety. This is the safety of the republic. You don't get to take, it's too hot. Look, what are the 3 general orders? I will guard everything influenced by post, only by post from property or leave. Seriously. Give me a break. This is pathetic.
I've sit there and had sweat, melting my eyeballs, and I'm sitting there just trying to keep it out of my eyes as we're sitting on a target, a high value target. And we have some intel guys that are recording a conversation going on and doing a few other things. Here I am. I'd love to pop back in the up armored Humvee and get a little AC. But guess what? My job was to go stand somewhere and guard, and that was it. And that's what I did. Stood there for about an hour and a half.
The thing about this is, where's the discipline? Where's the discipline?
Where's the dedication?
The dedication, exactly.
Where's the sense of mission?
Right.
There is none. Look, this, being a law enforcement official, being a firefighter, being a first responder, being a soldier is not a job. It's not a vocation. It's a calling.
Yeah.
It's a sacred responsibility and duty for the public, for the nation. And if you can't hack it, then go work at Starbucks or Arby's. America's roast beef. Yes, sir. Don't go there. They've got the meats. You don't need to hang out in the Secret Service. Ridiculous.
Right. Although I got to say, because they did have counter sniper on the opposing roof, so that roof was in a line of sight.
The range fan had areas that were dead space. They didn't compensate for that. They didn't put someone else in a position where there was no dead space. Why wasn't there a sniper on that roof? Well, better yet, you didn't have to be on the roof. The room behind there, the operations center for local police looked out over that roof. Why weren't they in there? You could see over the roof from that room. I saw the image. They're standing in that room. You look across, you can see where Trump's at. It wasn't obstructed by the building in front of them. Why weren't there people inside there? You could sit a sniper up in there. Wouldn't even be visible to the public.
Right.
The only thing that would be out the window is the edge of the barrel.
By no way should that perimeter not have been patrolled. We talked about that last week. Uniformed officers or somebody out there monitoring. Those buildings look like too much vulnerability the way they're set up.
Yep. And I can tell you that President Trump's Secret Service detail has been running about 20 to 21 people for the past few years, and they've been asking for more people. They only have enough to basically run 2 shifts, if they're lucky. Any former president should have 3 to 4 shifts on their detail at all times.
Yeah.
According to Cheeto, they are about 100-man short on staffing.
Okay, listen. According to Director Cheetos, I don't want to hear it. Director Cheetos, she needs to go back to guarding Lay's potato chips. This woman is the most feckless, opaque, useless fool in the U.S. government. And when the government that has Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Lloyd Austin, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, she's right up there.
Even if you are short-staffed in D.C. or overall, you outsource, and that's what they do. They had state police there, they've had Secret Service there, and they've had uniformed officers.
Well, they had state police just outside the perimeter, just doing not even crowd control, doing traffic control, and that was it. They didn't allow them to come and set up and do anything. Apparently, that's from some of the stuff that I've read and some of the testimony.
Well, the bottom line is this: is that there will always be overlapping jurisdictions for law enforcement. There will always be liaison with either host nation in a foreign country, with intelligence services, with presidential services, presidential guards, with local law enforcement. That is a given. That doesn't abrogate the Secret Service from spying. How can you tell me the perimeter 130 meters away is not your perimeter? I mean, good Lord, you could take an AR-15 and fire from 4 times that distance. It's effective range.
Right.
And that's an AR-15. That's not even a 30-06 or, an elephant gun or something like that.
Right.
So from my understanding, Trump would have a permanently assigned leader, right? Somebody who works for Secret Service that's going to run a team that's permanently there. Who is this guy and why is he not being questioned?
With a special agent in charge, whoever that may be, whether they were on duty that day or not, should definitely be questioned, because everything should have been running through the special agent in charge, or SAIC should have been vetting everything and sending it to DC, looking at everything. You want man request, you need more guards, you need whatever. It goes to your special agent in charge or a supervisor. They're within the detail.
So I was going to say somebody's in charge of this detail. Somebody's ahead of it, and they had to go and
and
have somebody go out and survey it before Trump arrived, before people arrived, make sure it was clear, and do things to ascertain to limit any threats. Something failed here, and the funny thing is we hear about Cheetos, but we don't hear from this guy.
Well, look,
I'm sure you will.
I'm sure their reps, their union reps, and their attorneys are all involved at this stage. Listen, I mean, it's if it wasn't so sad, it would have been hilarious and entertaining watching the so-called testimony of Kimberly Cheadle yesterday. It was shocking to say the least. The woman wouldn't even confirm what she went and rushed off to the media to set a narrative. She wouldn't even confirm that.
That's ridiculous.
I agree with the AOC yesterday, by the way.
Oh wow, that's pretty rare.
With AOC, but yeah, she did kind of like tone it down and be pretty direct, which is abnormal for her, and her eyes didn't bug out of her head. And
that was the first time she looked congressional in any respect.
Yeah.
Was then.
But don't get all enamored. No,
I'm not.
She's going to go back to being herself. The thing about it is I really felt like Congress didn't have their act together when they were asking her questions. I mean, they kept repetitively asking her the same sort of questions over again. She kept had to refer to, hey, this is an FBI investigation. I'm not qualified to comment on an FBI investigation, but yet they keep going back to these same sorts of questions. I mean,
oh, come on, you're saying she was treated unfairly? Is that what you're trying to say, John?
I'm saying they were abusive. They
should have been abusive.
No,
she's been abusive.
Out of somebody, you don't talk to them like that. Treat them like a professional.
If you want answers, you don't do this in public. You do it in camera. You do it in camera. You go in private in a classified facility, then you disclose it. Her answer should have been said, I cannot disclose that.
Is it about to happen? Hold on now.
She has to say, I cannot disclose that. We have to go in camera in order for me to tell you that, because the sensitivity of classification. That's what she should have said, but she didn't do that.
She didn't know what she was doing, dude. She never knew what she was doing.
Well, then why is he the director of the Secret Service with a $3 billion budget?
She had no clue what she was doing in that hearing.
Joe's late.
But in any interrogation, I dare say the colonel probably has interrogated many people.
I have.
The same question over and over and over to try to see if they're lying, get a different answer, figure it out.
Exactly. And she got caught lying. She was asked the question over and over again. A couple of times she changed the story.
Yep.
I was going to say, let's go ahead and move to our break and pick it up when Joe gets in. Or we'll just pick it up at the end of the break.
All right. If we have to take a break, you're listening to WSMN.
Well, you know what? We don't have to. People would rather not hear an ad anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we have to play the ad, go ahead and play it. We can always
don't have to. It's just top of the hour break. It's a news they heard the last.
Well, Joe's late. We're waiting on Joe Biden to show up, folks. For those listening on WSMN, you're listening on the radio, of course. If you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube for the channel, if we haven't been censored on that channel, you can watch us there. But I'm also simulcasting on my YouTube program, Chris Wyatt Reports. And for the audience on that side, you're hearing it just as the radio audience hears it. You're not seeing, but you will have the benefit of seeing Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Cowardly Joe show up on screen if he ever makes it. Tonight we're going to confirm whether we're watching the movie Dave or not.
He shows it up at 8:49. So no, Chris, Todd muted himself, but I really honestly think Congress was grandstanding a lot during that hearing.
Yeah, they were.
And they were politicizing their positions, you know?
Today, even more so, all anti-AR-15, all anti-guns.
Oh, yeah.
Here's Joe. Here's Joe.
He didn't come through yet.
Extraordinary American president in the Oval Office. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elect me to this office, I promise to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. It's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life.
No, he's not going to resign.
There's a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism, make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world.
He's fading.
I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war.
There was peace before you took over.
We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world.
Like Brittany Griner, America hater?
You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities.
Oh, God.
We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century.
And we're in the grip of
The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Oh, dear God.
We came together as Americans. We got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure.
I'm broke.
Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record.
What jobs?
Wages are up.
No,
Inflation continues to come down.
No, it's still higher.
The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years.
That's a lie.
We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America.
Yeah, because it's
We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation.
No, we're not.
We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors.
You drove them up for the rest of us.
More people have health care today in America than ever before. I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials.
I didn't get a penny and I was exposed.
You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years.
Lie.
Today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low.
That's holy.
We're also securing our border.
What?
Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
See how that went?
I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America, and be a president for all Americans.
76% white?
That's what I've done.
It's like 26% white. Doesn't look like
I
America.
ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake.
It's like a Mel Brooks.
The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world.
You ruined it.
That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Oh, here we go.
We're all created equal.
Oh, man.
Endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now.
That's why we're dumping it.
In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it.
Yeah, well, we had it.
A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years.
Resign.
Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America.
No, that's what's wrong.
We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation,
No, you have. You're
like so many others.
You stole it from us.
I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people.
Fools.
I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. You just have to keep faith, keep the faith. And remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together. Preserve our democracy. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
Oh, that's Joe Biden, folks. There you go. That was real special, wasn't it? Not?
Well, you gotta give him some credit here, Chris. It's the first time I think I've ever heard Joe Biden refer to it as a republic, but I don't think he had a choice when he's quoting history.
Right. Yeah. Ben Franklin's quote basically forced him to say republic. Otherwise, he'd be saying democracy, right?
Oh, good Lord. I mean, that's just, I thought it was pathetic. I mean, delusional. When there are less border crossings now than the previous administration, what planet is this guy on? I mean, good Lord. I mean, I look around my neighborhood. I don't recall seeing hijabs until this guy did this. I don't recall seeing all these people from Latin America or from Africa living around me. And I have a problem with people living here if they came here legitimately. Some of them did. We have people from Liberia that settle in Lancaster. We have lots of Indians that settle in the Camp Hill, Mechanicsburg area because of the IT and insurance industry. But now we got people being dumped in rural neighborhoods who aren't from here because of these criminals in this White House. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. These people. Mm.
Absolutely. This is what how many Oval Office resolute desk addresses has he given since he's been president? Like 3, maybe 4, right?
Not much at all. That's for darn sure. This guy has been he's been hiding Biden the entire time he's been the presidency, and he's clearly living in delusion. I don't know who wrote the script, but I mean, you know, I bet you the Washington Post, New York Times won't fact check it because the entire script is lies. Everything's a lie. Everything you said was a lie. There's maybe one or two things that are partially true. By the way, folks, for those listening on the radio, listening to WSMN at 95.3 and 1590 on your AM dial, thanks for tuning in every Wednesday night on WSMN, the Common Sense Conservatives, with my co-host, Todd McKinley, retired senior non-commissioned officer from the United States Army. Yeah, first to fight. That's right. That's right. The Army's first to fight. That's right. First in the nation. We're the first
to fight for your right and build the nation's might.
And the Army goes rolling along.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And John Grosvenor up there, our truck driver extraordinaire in Nashua, New Hampshire. Keep on trucking, buddy.
Now is Roxanne there, John? I see a red light. What's going on? Is she there?
Roxanne.
That is just an indicator that we are live.
Ladies and gentlemen.
But
so
if it happens to call in the ladies.
Yeah.
So what happens when it's flashing? It's flashing now.
That's just me killing the mic one here. Activates the light to let people know that that the studio's live.
Gotcha.
All right. So for my YouTube audience who's currently listening right now, tonight you have to just imagine you're listening to the radio because we've brought you Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Cowardly Joe Biden. His live address to the nation, which he spewed all kinds of fairy tales. The man's living in an alternate universe. But we are live on the air at WSMN, which you can find on Facebook or at wsmn.live if you want to listen. But you can also listen here tonight on my program. Todd and I have to be very careful not to say any of the trigger words for the PooTube audience,
right?
Because we'll get censored and the channel gets shut down.
Todd, and you have to be careful. That means I can say what I want.
Oh, no. Please! Oh my!
No,
there's always one. There's always one in every crowd, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is.
I got 2 strikes right off the bat, so I'll be careful.
Yeah. Anyway, so no, I just want to let my audience know on YouTube. That's why they're just hearing us and they're not seeing us because it can't bring you in. Well, actually, I could probably do this. Hang on a second. Actually, I think I can pull this off. Hang on. I can bring you guys in. Let me see if it'll work. We can do it this way.
Oh, here we go, Tom. We're going under.
No, it's not going to work.
The push of a button. Chris canceled the show.
No. We somehow get sucked into the Matrix or Tron or something. I don't know.
I can't do it. It doesn't let me go full screen, so I can't do it. Okay.
Oh,
you're kind of in my world. I go through all these hassles at home. I got to where I can't even screen share on StreamYard anymore and get the audio, and it's ridiculous. And we don't work here either for screen sharing.
I was just trying to go full screen because people don't need to see all this other crap around here. The studio stuff. I was just trying to go full screen, but it's not letting me do that. That's okay. But they can listen in if they want, and we'll stick with it. We're only on for about another hour. Amanda Annette Short said that speech was layered and stitched. Oh, it was something, all right.
It definitely wasn't at the Resolute desk.
No,
but it looked like a mock-up.
I really like that, layered and stitched.
It's pretty good.
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that somewhere.
This speech was Lilo and Stitch. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. It was layered and Stitch.
Yeah, well, it was sewn together for sure, and layered with so much BS. I mean, like it's so many different topics. It was thrown in there to make it seem patriotic. So,
no, it was like Joey Tribbiani's shepherd's pie. He's eating shepherd's pie that Rachel made. Right. What's wrong with this? You got peas and carrots and custard.
Oh.
That poor Phoebe. I love Jacques Cousteau. Phoebe, I think Jacques Cousteau is dead.
Yeah, I love Jacques Cousteau.
Oh my goodness, that was fun times back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. Anyway, so folks, you've listened to Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Cowardly Joe Biden, whom the media and all of the sycophants of the Democratic Party are saying, what a courageous man, what a patriot to step down. Excuse me, Todd, if this man was a patriot, he wouldn't have run for office.
Absolutely. He had no ability to run for office. And now I'm looking at a picture of Joe Biden with Kevin O'Connor in the background, his physician. The guy who re-enlisted me for the last time, he was a White House medical unit physician. I'm like, I hate to see the way he went. He's gone too, because he's going to be thrown to the wolves if it comes out.
Are you talking about his personal physician there, the guy who's feeding us?
Kevin O'Connor.
It's funny how Kevin O'Connor's diagnosis for a person who clearly has mental acuity issues, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, he's clearly got issues.
Yeah.
But this guy gives us a fairy tale.
No.
And Donald Trump, when he was in his early 70s, was fit. He's full of life. And all we hear is that, well, no, that Rodney Jackson must be lying. That can't be true. Why do they accept what this guy's saying, but not what Jackson is saying?
But immediately, like within a couple of days of Rodney Jackson's assessment, Trump walked out, went back to the campaign trail, went back to the rallies. He was strong.
They're trying to label Trump. They're trying to label Trump as losing it now, and he's not.
No,
he doesn't slip up. He doesn't mess up.
Very calm, very cool, very level-headed. J.D. Vance, very intelligent, obviously, former Marine. You know, he's level-headed. He's with it. He knows what he's talking about. He has his faculties. And he said in conversations and interviews, he says, if I feel that I'm losing it, he said, I'll either step aside or they're going to have, you know, my blessing to invoke the 25th Amendment. You know, I shouldn't be president if I can't do it.
Well, there you go. It's time for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. I mean, if he can't run for office, then how can he serve?
Yeah,
that's a lot more challenging. Oh, by the way, do we really think that NATO is going to become the most robust in its history in the next 6 months because of Joe Biden? No. Why hasn't it happened in the last 3.5 years, Joe?
He's going to hide away. He's going to give a couple of little speeches here and there. They're going to say, Joe is so great, isn't he? Better than he's ever been. What a humanitarian. What a George Washington character. A George Washington character, mind you, until Joe Biden just did this in the last few days, they hated because he owned slaves. If you remember, the left hated George Washington. He owned slaves. You know, this nation was founded on slavery, and George Washington was one of the main perpetrators. They hated him. They wanted to tear down his statues, tear down his home. And now all of a sudden they're lionizing George Washington.
Well, the interesting is George Washington actually despised slavery. He didn't like it.
That's true. He married into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
In fact, one of his wedding gifts was a slave, if I'm not mistaken, and he got rid of it. He didn't
because it was his personal, because it was given to him personally, and he freed the slave.
Yeah.
No, it was look. I'm so sick of the nonsense about slavery. Slavery today, there are more people in bondage today than any point in history. At a given point, at least 75 million people are slaves today, and no one wants to talk about it. And we all want to hear about is reparations. Well, reparations for what? The Christians were enslaved in the Middle East during the Crusades. Christians were enslaved in North Africa long after the Crusades were over. Up until the late 19th century, the Barbary pirates were still kidnapping Irish and Icelanders and Basque and others and enslaving them, castrating the males, and selling the women off as concubines and slaves. This has been going on forever. It's not unique. Every conquering army, from the Golden Horde to the Vikings, and then beyond, has taken slaves. This is just the nature of human beings. You know, it's interesting. I saw someone on an African broadcast the other day admit the truth. You know, like why are people upset with Europeans and acting like they're the ones that invented slavery when it was our black brothers and sisters who for thousands of years enslaved their brothers and sisters through warfare and kept them as slaves? And then, which I've been saying forever, you know, they seem to forget that for 1,600 years, they sold slaves to the Arabs. And there's a reason why there's not a big black population in the Middle East or North Africa, because they were castrated. The males were castrated. And that's it. They were slaves for physical labor and for serving in uniform and working the fields, but they never reproduced because they were all castrated. That didn't happen in the Americas and North America by and large. That's why we have populations today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. It's
but you got to realize they also, in what was the 1808, we no longer imported slaves. So to have them, they had to breed them.
I'm well aware of that. I've pointed that story out many, many times. The United States in 1806 passed legislation banning the importation of slaves. And in fact, that federal law was upheld. When people were caught doing it, they were tried. In fact, a white slave trading captain was captured in 1859 and hung by the neck until he died for dumping a load of slaves outside of New Orleans. They caught him after he scuttled a ship, and he was sentenced to death. He died for bringing slaves in the country. So I don't want to hear this original sin of slavery nonsense. We didn't invent the institution. We were the only country to ever fight a civil war to end the institution of slavery. We were amongst the first countries in the world to ban slavery, and we have been the strongest countries in the world fighting for people to end bondage for them. These people are sick and twisted. Their understanding of history is not even rudimentary. It's selective, and it's highly selective to say that. You know, the list goes on and on. Once again, if America's original sin was slavery, then why is it the first time the America expanded its territory in 1787 with the Northwest Ordinance Act, when we got the land from Britain, which include the future states of Ohio, Indiana, where Todd is at tonight, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan? Why is it that we banned slavery into perpetuity in that new territory if we were in favor of slavery? We weren't in favor of slavery. It was a compromise that allowed a union to be formed. Otherwise, there would not have been a United States. There would have been a Southern United States. There would have been a Northern United States at the outset. We never would have been a country, or we'd have fought each other, wiped each other out, and then the Brits or French would have came in and recolonized us. So it's just disingenuous and flat out a lie, the nonsense these people spew. They need to learn history. They need to learn the truth about this country and stop lying about it. It's the best. And let's go back before we get today. ripping down the American flag and hoisting a Palestinian flag. That is not protest. That is an act of insurrection. You are defying the authority of the United States and openly doing so in public. You have declared your allegiance to Palestine. You are therefore forfeit of your rights. You must be tried for treason. There are multiple witnesses. We have the video. These people, if they're American citizens, must be tried for treason. If they're not American citizens, they must be deported immediately and never allowed to come back in this country. This is defacing the Liberty Bell. Why would you deface the Liberty Bell? What does that have to do with Palestine? Nothing. These people, this is a consequence of the lawlessness that started under Obama and continued under Trump and has reached a crescendo under this crooked regime.
Yep,
absolutely. You know, the problem is if this was 250 years ago, you know what they'd have done to them? They wouldn't even got the flag hoisted.
Well,
they would have taken care of business. They would have got things done. We are too tolerant as a nation, as too tolerant as a society, and too tolerant as a people today.
Well, and people don't want to be involved. Well, that's not my problem. That's somebody else's problem. That's their problem. ... I don't want to be, in the spotlight. I don't want somebody to say something about me. I don't want to be reprised against. All of this nonsense. And then you hear all these people talk about Second Amendment's case our government becomes tyrannical. I don't see it anywhere, people. I'm not calling for violence. I just don't see it.
You're not going to have to call for violence. If these people continue to destroy America, they're going to bring the violence on themselves. It's going to happen. They're already being violent. We already have violence.
Yep.
But patriots can only be pushed so far, and that's what's going to happen. And listen to nonsense tonight. All the one-sided nonsense. And if you listen to the interview or the questioning of Christopher Wray, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation today, who did I think reasonable job answering the questions for the part that I saw for about an hour and a half. He seemed reasonable. Yeah. I have no faith or confidence whatsoever in Christopher Wray. I think he's the deep state slime ball, but I'll be fair and objective. He did the best he could under the circumstances. He was clear about what his responsibilities are and what they're not. So I appreciate that. But during that, grandstanding, people getting up there, going on, I'm going to ask you a question, but wait till I finish 4.5 minutes of standing in my soapbox. Then I'll ask you a question that the answer to will be yes or no. So here I go. I'm going to complain about America and weapons, yada, yada, and then cherry pick the violence. Talk about Gabby Giffords when she shot. Talk about, but forget about the Republicans who were targeted by a Bernie Sanders supporter, shooting them at a baseball practice, and then, she ended with Trump, but forgetting about the hammer that was used to try to kill, what's his name? Sorry?
Pelosi?
No, not Pelosi. She talked about Pelosi, but that was his gay lover. That doesn't have anything to do with political violence.
Right.
No, I'm talking about Rand Paul. When they went to his house, a guy attacked him on the step with a hammer. Then they go to these leftists go to Josh Hawley's home in D.C. and violate federal law, standing outside protesting in front of a federal officer's house, which is a felony offense. While law enforcement watching, not only did they do that, they entered his property. Then they beat on his door and harassed his 9-month pregnant wife. No charges ever filed. That's political violence. They don't talk about that. What about the occupation of the Seattle federal court building in the summer of 2020 and the formation of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone? Chaz, that is an insurrection. This is political violence. The people were murdered. The people were raped in that, Chaz. The list goes on and on. What about the Trump building? The Trump supporter, the 80-year-old who was run over with an ATV this week? An ATV, a 22-year-old ran him over with an all-terrain vehicle, an 80-year-old, because the 80-year-old had Trump signs in his yard. This scumbag went by, ripped them down and threw them up the yard. He drove away. The old man came out and saw his signs were down and started putting them back up. The guy ran over him. He's in critical condition. And this coward, this political coward, went off and damaged 2 other cars. I don't know what that was all about. And then he called the cops and said, come get me. And they blew his brains out. Well, that's probably the only best thing he did in his life.
Yeah, good deal. Sayonara, you piece of crap.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Amanda says that Joe never once stuttered or said end of caption, and words and lip movements do not match up. Or am I just critical? She's way too critical. I don't know if you're way too critical, Amanda.
No.
That was something.
Yeah, he gave no real reason as to why he stepped. I mean, passing the torch is one thing, but you could run for one more term and then pass the torch. It doesn't matter.
Why didn't he pass the torch 18 months ago instead of subjecting us to a fake primary season?
Right.
This is all a setup, folks. He
got squeezed out is what happened. And you know, when he gave that, when he wrote it out, that little fake signature on there, it's for the good of the party or it's good for the country. When they start saying stuff like that, that means they got squeezed out.
Yeah.
Oh, we know he got squeezed. I mean, that's the point. But
there's no money for him.
Look, he was their convenient sock puppet until he wasn't, and now they have a new sock puppet.
He's unreliable. He can't give a speech anymore. He can't maneuver anymore. He's going to become uncontrollable. They know it, so they're trying to replace him with Kamala.
But the real problem was twofold. Because of the debate performance, nobody was giving money to the campaign.
Right.
The funds dried up completely. They couldn't continue to lie about Trump unless they had more money.
Right.
So that was the first thing. And the second thing is that he couldn't perform anymore. It was clear in the polls that he was going to get trounced.
Yeah,
and don't believe the fake polls coming out now about Kamala. She's not tired of leading Trump.
No.
That's fantasy.
No, and think about this. Kamala, you think about Biden being controllable. She's not going to be. She's going to get to the point where she's like, I'm president. I can really make decisions legally, constitutionally. I don't need these puppet masters anymore. She's going to start cutting the strings, and all of a sudden, going to be her own person. She's going to stand on her own, and she's going to make bad decisions, but she's going to realize she doesn't need them, and she'll call them out, expose them, or something.
Well, she starts doing stuff that His Highness Obama and Susan Rice and Nancy Pelosi don't want her to do, and she better hope the Secret Service detail improves.
Right, they can be like, you see what happened to Trump? That was a warning shot. Come on,
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. Somebody said, "Is this the original Biden?" Or, I mean, the clones are still there, aren't they? That's funny.
Oh, the clones. Yeah,
send in the clones. Send in the clones.
Trump's going to move back in, and he's going to be walking around. Where's my brother at? Where's your brother?
Dude, this is such a lame White House. We can't even get fembots.
Right. Fembots. Trump.
$1 billion. Oh my goodness, folks! You're listening to the Common Sense Conservatives at WSMN 95.3 and 1590 AM on your dial every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Todd McKinley in East Tennessee, although he's on the road tonight, and John Grosvenor up in the studio. I'm Chris Wyatt in Central Pennsylvania. We've been listening to the Saturday Night Live. Joe Biden's speaking appearance this evening. It was entertaining to say the least. If you're looking for a good novel, listen to the audio rendition of Joe Biden's speech tonight and how he's always stood for America, how he's looked out for the little guy, how a sleazeball from Scranton, who wears diapers in his 70s, could only become president only in America. Yeah, it was lame.
I want to know what he's going to get the authority to keep fighting for all this stuff he said he's going to keep fighting for. You're leaving office, bro. You're not a senator. You're not a president. Where are you fighting from? What platform are you standing on?
From the Rehoboth Beach Retirement Center care facility.
He's going to be fighting in his heart. It's going to be all spirit.
Yeah. I hope Joe likes tapioca pudding because that's what's on the menu.
Yeah, so somebody said he may have been promised about $250 million for his presidential library, so he can have a library there in Delaware.
A library for what? He doesn't read.
No, a presidential library.
Oh, presidential. Oh, for all the suckers who think he was the actual president.
Right. Yeah.
They should make it the Susan Rice Memorial Library.
Yeah, they'll be like, just kidding. This is the Obama third term library.
Yeah. No, what they should do is they should dress up as Charlie Brown and what's her name there?
Yeah, with the football. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say every president gets a presidential library. Joe Biden's before books with big pictures.
With big pictures. What are you saying?
I said every president gets a presidential library, except for Joe Biden's presidential library, be full of books with big pictures.
Right? Yeah, big pictures and very simple words, right?
Things in the way of like,
Joe was
look
president.
at Dick run,
Joe
Dick
said
run.
all the words.
Hey! We're gonna have all the sound bites. You walk in the Joe Biden Presidential Library. You walk. Yeah, that's right. You walk through the Corn Pop Memorial Hall. He's a bad dude. And you'll see pictures of Joe. Joe is sitting at the pool as a lifeguard, and his blonde hairs.
Rub Joe's hair.
They'll have a little mannequin. Your kids can walk up and rub his legs. Then they'll have a little mannequin where the kids can walk under and get their hair sniffed.
Yeah, once a month, Joe sits out front. And you can rub his hair. He sniffs your kid, whatever. That's $10 right there. Hey, that's just a $10 sniff.
We need that money for Ukraine. Put it in my pocket.
Right. Yeah, put it in my pocket.
Do you suppose when you go to Disney World, the Hall of Presidents will have a Joe Biden that keeps malfunctioning?
So it's true to life.
Yeah, true to life.
That's right. So nothing of substance came out of that. I mean, there was nothing there, and
it was the same thing you've written, more or less.
Nothing that Kamala can use to praise Joe. I know they'll try to spin it tomorrow.
So people are always talking about Hollywood. They pick on Hollywood, but they get it right. I mean, they're better than Nostradamus. I mean, first off, the executive decision with Kurt Russell. Remember that? And Steven Seagal. when they said how could anyone ever thought that they would try to fly planes in the White House? Hollywood did. Yeah. Hollywood, they had executive decision. The plan was to fly the plane with the neurotoxin into the White House or the Capitol building. The terrorists, they came up with that. Now we've also got the movie Dave with Kevin Kline, where he played a double for the president. Tonight we saw the Dave rendition just now, with the body double for Joe Biden, pretending to be Joe Biden.
They actually had a Secret Service. They had a CIA agent talks about. She says, "Man, the makeup and the abilities. You seen them social media posts with the videos of these people putting that mask on. That's a pullover mask over their whole head, and shoulders,
right.
And you can't even tell that's a mask. Looking at the video." And she's claiming that you could sit in front of the U.S. president as a total different fictitious person, and he would never know the difference. So they got their material down. I mean, if they want to do body doubles and stuff like that, that's what I'm getting at here. Is if they really wanted to pull that off, it's not impossible.
Listen, I was a fan of the original Mission Impossible, the Impossible Mission team, and I'm even bigger fan of Ethan Hunt, and I can pull that mask off too, So it's
yeah.
No, I'm just saying that was her claim. That was her claim. So,
well, no, I believe it. Look, I mean, we see Mission Impossible. I've seen him pull off that mask. I've even watched Austin Powers try to pull the mask off, although she didn't have a mask on.
But the
it's a man.
But with with a disguise in a situation, you're usually not wanting to be up close and personal to people that can scrutinize every situation, everything that every little nook and cranny of your face or whatever. Usually, a disguise is something that you do from far away as you're walking by. Somebody describes some nondescript old guy. When guess what, you took that off your 30-year-old somebody, whatever.
A lot to do with the disguise too, is about posture, about how you move, and
that goes along with it. But this idea where you're going to dress up and you're going to go try to fool people and slide into the Kremlin somehow, that's not really happening.
No, look, I enjoyed The Saint. I thought it was a great movie. Elizabeth Shue and Val Kilmer before he blew up. So one of the comments in the chat on my thing says, did I work with CIA makeup artists ever? No, the only artists I worked with the CIA were the graphic artists who made the graphics for my presidential daily briefs. You're being a smart aleck, but there's actually a real answer to that question.
but he did occasionally use a little bit of toner or something. I don't know. He was a 20-year-old graphic designer, right?
That was not my question. I told him what my needs were, and it came from production. And the artwork was brilliant. The maps I asked for were exactly how I asked. They're very good. They pay those people very well. They know what they're doing, whether using Macintosh or Windows blue screen of death. They know what they're doing. They do a really good job. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's nice to have that on hand because I have no skills, no artistic skills. I know what needs to be on there. I know what message I'm trying to convey. I explain it, and boom, a few hours later, they send it back. It's amazing. It's kind of like when I ran for office. I mean, I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to do it because I don't have the art skills. But then these guys came with incredible buttons and signs and everything for me. They're really gorgeous. They're really effective. It was brilliant. Yeah. So anyway, it's nice to have people with those artistic skills. I'm not one of them. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. You just let them loose. And sometimes they can come up with some stuff that you just can't even think of,
I mean, it's amazing. Tonight, we thought we actually saw Joe Biden.
Right. Well, I know somebody who does a lot of my work. Carrie Carpenter does a lot of my work. And, she's amazing. You just give her a general idea and she's like, how about this? It may take her a couple hours because she perfects it, but it's like, here you go. It works. It works.
Guys,
I don't have to change anything.
Today, America reached a new low, a new shameful low, in which scumbags just damaged the Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
They ripped down American flags at Union Station, and they violently protested because they're anti-Semitic Jew haters and they hate America. These people are committing crimes, and people are pretending that they're protesting. These aren't protests. These are crimes. When you rip down an American flag, an official flag at a government facility, and you hoist up a foreign flag, you've committed an act of treason, and you've shown your fealty and loyalty to a foreign power. Therefore, you have no right. You've abrogated your rights, and you need to get out. Footsec, take off, be gone. And then this defacing the Liberty Bell. What the hell is wrong with people? Seriously? It's time for patriots to stop tolerating this nonsense and to get rid of these scumbag politicians in the fall, whether they're Democrats or Republicans who tolerate this garbage.
I agree.
This is unacceptable. A couple years ago, they threatened to damage the monuments at Gettysburg. And there's hundreds of those from all the regiments on both sides of the battlefield. They threatened it, but patriots stood up and sent them a strong word of warning during the summer of love in the summer of 2020. And they didn't have the courage to challenge patriots who are going to defend those monuments.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we should do across our entire country. You see this, you step up, you defend it. You know, the other people get tried, they get convicted, you get a pat on the back. Maybe you get a medal. I don't know. Maybe you get a corn dog. I don't know. It's not something. You get a meal for free. Here you go. You know, go get your meal voucher. Great job, Patriot.
Of course, it's understandable why patriots are reserved, because they're not violent people. They're not violent people by and large, and yeah, lawsuits, and also they get harassed by a corrupt government that violates the rule of law and misuses government. You know, I read today about a gentleman who spent 30 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit, and he went to prison as a 22-year-old on the basis of the testimony of a 12 and 15-year-old who said, well, he was there. No physical evidence, no forensics, no DNA, no gunshot residue, but he was convicted of a murder 30 years ago and spent 30 years in prison. Now, the state can do that to you. Think about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I could tell you there was around Halloween whenever I was a kid, you know, we used to go out and do the little mischief stuff. And a friend's younger brother told people that, no, Todd was in the neighborhood. He was over there doing this stuff. And it's like, he got confused. I was there the night before, actually walking around on Halloween. This was like a day after Halloween. And so, but he was confused. Other people were over there, not me. I was there the night before, actually. And so if somebody could just misremember something, get dates confused, everything, you know, around Halloween, things kind of, days that basically seem the same. You know, next thing you know, all of a sudden somebody misremembers something, and you're rolled up and in trouble. You know, whether it's with your parents or with the police in that situation.
Misremembers, is that like forgetting?
Yeah. You misremember. You know, it's like, no, I was there the night before you saw me, but not that particular night. You know.
Yeah, 30 years.
That sounds funny, but I think that's an actual word. It's.
Yeah.
I've heard that before, and it sounds funny. It's not one of those things you would think to use unless you were familiar with it.
Right, misremember. Yeah. You remembered that I was there, but you didn't. You got the date wrong. But it's all good.
But
it can happen. But a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old, whatever, saying something that just say you were there doesn't mean you shot anybody. Doesn't mean you killed anybody. Doesn't mean you had anything to do with anything like that. You know, just because you were nearby has nothing to do with that.
Well, that's an issue within itself, right? I mean, it's hearsay evidence, but the jury took it. You know, and I don't know why the judge would allow it if there was no real concrete proof or evidence he was there. Why would they accept hearsay evidence like that as the only proof or evidence?
Right. Yep.
So here's an interesting one. Kamala Harris said this November we'll elect a majority to Congress who will agree that the government should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. When you murder an American citizen in the womb, the government has every right to tell you what to do with their body. When Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will sign into law, and then we will quickly overturn it because it's unconstitutional. Just so you know.
Yep, and of course that's why they want to pack the Supreme Court before he leaves, so she can get away with doing what she wants to.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, your buddy Robbie Starbuck has been in overdrive between the Tractor Supply store and a host of other businesses. Now he's going after Harley Davidson.
Oh wow! Okay, interesting.
Yeah. He said Harley Davidson seems to have forgotten who their core customers are. In a 10-minute video, it called out their policies, partnerships, events, the DEI, CRT, and LGBTQ+. He said, I don't think the values of corporate reflect the values of nearly every Harley Davidson biker.
No.
Do Harley riders want the money they spend in Harley to be used later by corporate to push an ideology that's diametrically opposed to their own values? So do y'all think Harley Davidson is going to make their dealers suffer the fallout from their choice to go woke at corporate? Or do you think they're going to try to turn around on this before all the biker clubs organize boycotts?
Yeah.
Wow. Robbie is becoming fast the enemy number one of corporate wokeism.
Right.
Harley, it's like Budweiser. They'll just push through it. They'll keep pushing through it because people are too forgiving.
Well, not everybody. I mean, look, Tractor Supply store back down.
Yeah, I don't know. People tend to be too forgiving.
John Deere back down. There have been more victories since Robbie Starbuck started this crusade. It must be nice to have a platform like that and just go after them. But ever since Robbie started this a few weeks back and exposing these companies, they're supposed to be traditional value American companies. They've been backing down and moving away from the woke stuff. Now, the problem is you got to keep an eye on them because they'll slip right back into it or they'll try to hide it.
Right.
But Robbie is definitely doing yeoman's work here, trying to keep this on the plate, on the front burner. I didn't expect to hear this from Harley Davidson. There's a Harley Davidson plant right down the road here in York, Pennsylvania.
So some things are kind of unforgivable, aren't they? It's kind of like with Arnold Schwarzenegger, screw your rights. It's like, excuse me. Back in the COVID days when he announced screw your rights and stuff. And I had a friend says, well, John, people make mistakes. I'm like, no, he meant what he said. And that wasn't a mistake. I don't feel forgiving for that. As far as I'm concerned, ever since then, the guy's been a piece of dirt. I don't give a crap if he tried to make amends and apologize to people or not. That was his real feelings. That was his sentiment at the time. And I'm sure it still is. Screw your rights. That was it.
Remember all the Karens who ran around and attacked people for not wearing masks? And all the people screaming at you to get your booster shot. Joe's had what, 6 of them? 6? I think he had 6 booster shots. He still got the Rona. Well, I don't think he had the Rona. I think that was just an excuse.
I think the booster shots you're talking about is the Botox and all the injections.
Oh, is that what it was? They got Botox shots.
He
Okay.
was boosting something. Something.
Yeah, maybe Joe's booster wasn't for the jab, but rather for amphetamines.
Drink. It's a boost energy drink. Joe,
Yeah,
did you get your booster?
They're giving a monster intravenously.
Yeah, right.
They're giving him something. It could be where the white powder came from in the White House.
No, that's Hunters, man. Don't confuse things.
Like father, like son. I'm just saying.
By the way, who covered up that story? The Secret Service. That's right.
And you don't hear anything really else of Hunter right now. Nothing.
Oh, he withdrew his lawsuit against Fox News.
Yeah, well, I guess now that his dad's moving out of the way, everybody's just going to kind of let him float out. Nothing's going to happen.
When's the sentencing? I mean, they never set a sentencing date.
Nothing's going to happen.
I don't really care about Hunter Biden.
Daddy Biden needs him to make a sentencing date at some point in time before he's out of office. Otherwise, Hunter might be twisting in the wind later on.
There'll be a pardon. There'll be a last day pardon. There'll be a stack of pardons, and there'll be controversial pardons. There'll be his brother will be pardoned, and his son will be pardoned.
He'll pardon himself.
Several other people.
I was joking with a friend about it one day. I can see Biden's all packed up. He's like, "Jill, you ready?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm ready." So I feel like I'm forgetting something. There's Biden in jail, or Hunter sitting over there. Daddy, don't forget me, Daddy.
Yeah, Smoking the Bandit, but Daddy.
Well, at least we won't have to listen to this anymore. My son Bo, he died in combat. No, he didn't, buddy. He died from cancer.
No, yeah,
died from cancer. Stop lying to people.
Yeah, unfortunate, but don't try to tie in his military service with his death. Let's not do that. And now maybe you could perhaps draw a correlation, but don't do it for political gain. Don't do it for political gain.
Yeah, it's definitely what it's all about. Done for a political game. All nonsense. He's never met a person's grief he couldn't use for his own benefit. That's for darn sure. That's Joe Biden.
I could see if Bo Biden's family was needing money and all this, needing VA or whatever, some sort of money or whatever. I could see trying to help in that situation to prove that there's a correlation, but just trying to do it for political gain or just to get a pat on the back to show, yeah, my kid also went to war. Your kid was a lawyer that was hanging out at a headquarters. I'm sorry.
I find it fascinating. The left is always talking about, they get around, they talk about Trump, they call him a draft dodger, but they don't mention Joe Biden as draft dodger.
Right. Right.
Joe Biden should have been in combat too. Where was he at?
Some of that selective memory, right?
Right. He 29 years old, he got elected to the Senate, sworn in just after turning 30. And that's where he's been. Whenever 19. He was mid-20s, he was elected to the what is equivalent to a county commission, basically.
He profited off the grief of his wife dying in a car accident. Yep. And used that to ride to fame. And he's been doing it ever since, using other people's grief. Yep. And then ignoring real grief, like the 13 service members and 45 who were mutilated, courtesy of his abject failure at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Joe Biden. The backside of him can't come soon enough. It should have come 50 years ago. Should never have known who this loser was. Lunch Pail Joe, the most tone-deaf individual.
If Americans aren't careful, Kamala will, one way or another, by hook, by crook, will win the election if we're not careful.
Well, I've actually heard that the plan is these illegal immigrants, you got millions of them.
Sure. And
they're moving them around. So the concept is we move them to this location, they register to vote. Now we pick them up and move them to another location and register them to vote there. So now you got one guy has 5 votes throughout the country with millions and millions of people.
Well, that sounds like conspiracy theory, but it might have legs.
No, actually, where I heard it from, it probably does have some legs.
I think it does.
That's right. Light Rain says, I forgot he married the babysitter. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, he did. He was already had something going on with her, I think, before.
He did.
Of course he did.
Yeah,
That's why he didn't miss his wife. He just profited off of her loss.
She was feeling his hairy legs.
Oh, good God.
Tell me how you beat up Corn Pop.
He's a bad dude, man.
You got all those answers, and Corn Pop only got like 2 or 3. Great job, Joe. I'll marry you, not Corn Pop. It was a competition or something.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe
it was a competition.
People still claim he's from Scranton, Pennsylvania. He's not.
Lunch Pail Joe.
He was born there. What? He moved there. What? He was 8, I think, when they moved out of there.
I think he was younger than 8. I thought he was 4 or 5. But anyway, yeah, he didn't grow up in Scranton. He was born.
Yeah, but remember he drove.
I was born in Baltimore, but I didn't grow up in Baltimore. But I know it better than Joe knows Scranton.
Yeah, no, Joe drove a truck in Scranton. He was the part of the NAACP, and busted it.
Was he there with John Lewis? He marched it out.
All those things. He was getting arrested in South Africa. All that with Mandela. He was in there.
Gosh.
All those
You
things.
said he drove a truck. I'm sitting there thinking he was running with Hoffa. Maybe he knows the story about that.
Yeah, no, it was him and Hoffa. They were driving over to Mandela to pick him up. That's what happened. The whole situation.
Well, now we get in even more entertainment stuff, and so I was, today is today, and yesterday is yesterday, and tomorrow is tomorrow, and if today's tomorrow, yesterday, then yesterday is last week. I don't know who's on third base. I don't know.
It depends on what is.
That's right.
Does she get Joe Biden's $90 million?
She should be able to get it. Although the Trump campaign has filed a lawsuit today to stop that transfer $91.5 million over. But given just the evil nature of rich, connected slime balls who are stealing our country, they donated already $64 million to try to disguise it if it was a bunch of small donations. No, it was mostly big donations.
Where does the money go when somebody gives up on the race like Joe Biden? Where does it go back to the party, or can they transfer it?
No, it doesn't go to the party. It goes to the campaign, which is an entity. Entity.
But now the entity dissolves.
No, in this case, it may not be the case. It depends on how it was written up. If the entity is Biden-Harris, then she could technically should be able to use money, and that's what the argument is. But the I think the lawsuit coming from the Trump campaign is saying that it was Biden, not Biden-Harris. I don't know how it was registered, but I know that the way it works is you have to spend the money. In Pennsylvania, first off, there's no limit. You can give people whatever you want. There's no limitation on state candidate. You give me $1 million if you want to run for office. That's why Josh Shapiro got $63 million money poured in. The most money ever spent on a gubernatorial race prior to that was $4 million. He spent $63 million alone against, I think, like $4 million spent by Doug Mastriano or something like that.
Wow.
But so there's no limit here. But of course, it's $2,000 limit or something like that for federal candidate. Anyway, the money can just pour in, and that money, like here in Pennsylvania, at the end of my campaign, if I had donations, I can donate that to another political campaign. But that's Pennsylvania. That's not federal election campaign laws. Federal election law is different, and that money must be spent by that campaign, or they have to return it to the donors. That's not the easiest thing to do. So, so the $91 million probably would have been gone, or they would have had to ask for special permission to donate to something, but they couldn't have given it to another candidate. But because they kept her on the ticket, I believe she's going to be able to spend the money, even though there's a lawsuit coming from Trump. But it doesn't matter. The money's coming in left and right from Silicon Valley, Zuckerberg-like sort of clowns, and the industrialists who want to keep the gravy train going of ripping off consumers and have big corporate interests at the expense of entrepreneurs, retarding the growth of our country because they are satisfied with no economic growth, with stagnant growth, because they simply snatch up more market share that's given to them by the corrupt government, cutting out the smaller players with regulation and laws that make it impossible for entrepreneurs to succeed. So the bigger guys survive. They don't mind. And they'll donate their millions of dollars to the candidates, the dirty money, and they'll get what they want. And that's what the gravy train is. And it keeps on going. The reason Donald Trump has become a target is because he is not part of that. He fights that establishment. Unfortunately for him, a significant portion of the Republicans in Congress are part and parcel of this corrupt system.
Yep, absolutely. And you think about this, whenever they interview a witness, if you will, in Congress and, a committee hearing, they a lot of times the Republicans say, I'm going to say this and this, and Democrats say, I'm going to say this and this. And they key each other up and play off of each other to fundraise off of it. Absolutely. They'll use the other person who sits right next to them words in their ad and vice versa. And they'll use it to fundraise, and they'll raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to fear mongering, scaring people, and they laugh about it whenever they're off camera.
Well, and you're absolutely correct. And it's not just there. It doesn't stop there. It's also the media.
Sure.
First off, Rachel Maddow is not the raging, idiotic lunatic that she plays on television.
Yeah.
That's an act, most of it. I've talked to people who've met her, and she came to the War College, talked to them. She's a rational, cogent person who actually supposedly respects the military and believes in national defense, but that's not the person on camera. She doesn't get paid to be real. And it's the same with politicians. They're not genuine. These are plastic people. They're mannequins. They are sock puppets, almost all of them. Very few genuine people. That's why when you see genuine people like Jim Jordan, you need to latch onto them. You need to take advantage of the real people that are out there. And that's the kind of what irritated me about my election. In my race, there were 4 genuine people and 1 sock puppet, and the sock puppet won.
That's usually the way it goes whenever the Republican establishment's involved. That's usually what happens. It's the sock puppet who's going to be pliable, who's going to take those phone calls from their donors and from the establishment. You know, they may not be run every day and every decision by the establishment, but whenever they pick up the phone and call them, they answer for sure. They ignore your call.
Oh, no doubt, but no doubt about it. My question is, I would like to know who all the Jeff Dunhams are that control these suck puppets.
What if this guy over here has his voice and he has another voice over here? Yeah, he's hilarious. I can tell you, he's one of the best puppets.
Do you realize he's 62? I had no idea.
He's been around. He's been around.
Yeah,
He's been around a while, man, forever. That Joe Biden thing. Joe Biden just kind of grew into that puppet, I think, right?
Walter.
Well, that would explain his stick up his backside.
Right.
So, you know, it's one thing I did notice, though, is that, and I noticed about 5 or 6 years ago when it came to Harrisburg at the Senators and saying, God bless the USA, as Lee Greenwood was getting up there. I could really see Lee is up there now in his 80s. He's slowing down, and his voice isn't as good as it once was, but it still is a rousing rendition of God Bless America. It's a beautiful song, but it's not the same Lee Greenwood we heard in 1990. You know, golf war.
No, it's not. It's not. But he pays his own way to go around and do these at these Trump rallies. By the way, he pays for that himself.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he does. He's a great American, and it's incredible. You know, if I had to start again tomorrow, start all over again with just my children and my wife. I mean, that's he hit that nail on the head 30 years ago for what we're living through right now.
Yeah, big time. Yeah,
flag still stands for freedom, except where the Palestinians rip it down and burn it.
Yeah, I remember I did a rally in Wisconsin for this was Pence. It was Trump Pence back then, and then I went to Tennessee back home and drove down to Chattanooga, and it was a joint visit with President Trump and Pence, and Lee Green was there to sing his rendition, and of course I had to cue him up to go on stage, which was kind of cool. He came off, we shook hands, talked for a few minutes. I walked him back around to the hold room, the dressing room area, and that was it. It's kind of cool. He's a nice guy, really nice guy.
Yeah, no, he really is. Great American. You know, I was always wondering why we got Mike Pence. I guess we couldn't afford a pound.
Oh man.
As I'm in his home state.
Yeah. Anyway, crazy week. Was it last week that we already talked about last week? Bob Newhart passing away. Did we mention it last week?
I did not remember that.
Yeah, Bob Newhart passed away at 94. That was kind of sad. And then who else passed away?
A lot of people in our last couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah, a lot of noted celebrities and performers.
Well, I saw a tweet that said Jimmy Carter passed away, and I was like, huh?
No,
that was a hoax, yeah.
Okay.
That was a hoax. Yeah.
But the night before, I was telling somebody, I said, don't be surprised if Joe Biden, passes away in his sleep at some point over the next few weeks or next couple months. I said, don't be surprised. I saw that. The first thing I saw the next morning when I woke up was Jimmy Carter's dead. I was like, oh, I got the wrong. I killed Jimmy Carter. I got the wrong president.
But do you know that they could top the best episode ever of a sitcom, which was Newhart when he woke up next to Suzanne Plachette at the Newhart show, and he said, "Hey, I had a dream. I was in New England. I was an innkeeper." That was the best ever. But they could have topped that. They could have topped that tonight with Jimmy Carter in the Oval Office saying, "Hey, Joe's not here. I'm the president." That would have been incredible.
Right? Absolutely.
I had a dream that some guy from Scranton became the president, not a peanut farmer.
What wasn't what was the show? St. Elmo's as a hospital. What was it there in Boston?
St. Elsewhere.
St. Elsewhere was in the same universe as Cheers and Frasier and all the spinoffs.
Well, there you go, folks.
Go ahead.
All right, we'll see you next week. Come in 7 to 9 for my YouTube audience. Stay tuned. I'll be on camera just a second. Stay in there. Catch you all next week. God bless. Be safe out there. And don't believe that Joe's not alive because somebody showed up tonight.